Welcome to Float Activity. I'm going to be talking about how I redefine success to fit my needs, wants, and desires. I call this my path of devotion, and it's really taken a mindset shift to really step into how I'm cultivating this, but I want to break down where it started and where it's ended up to be. And again, my journey is so different from yours, but if anything from mine can help you flourish in your life, that is why I do this. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to Float Activity, a place to inspire and empower beings to embrace self-love and self-development for an achievable balance of productivity. I share different ways to come back to your intuition through spirituality, self-care, human design, cycle planning, wellness, and everything in between. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been here with me before, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so excited to join you in this journey as we learn together. Welcome to the Path of Devotion episode, where I'm going to talk to you about how I redefined success and started living a more purposeful life that felt fulfilling to me, and where that started and how it's turned into what it is. And the reason I'm doing this episode is because so much that I desired 3 years ago when I was a hairstylist, I 100% am living in that I have. But the hustler in me is still striving towards some really big goals. And so I'm doing this episode in celebration of these little things that are so big to me that I've accomplished. And they may seem silly and they may not resonate with you, but the point in me sharing these things and being vulnerable is it's time for you to listen to those things that you want, even if they feel silly or you don't think they can happen. I'm going to start this off with talking about some things I just truly wished I had in my life when I was a hairstylist. And, I will probably have to say this in almost every episode that I have. You do not have to leave your career to live a fulfilling life. It's taking those aspects that you dream of and being able to build them in your life. I had an opportunity to rebuild my career. I knew my body just could not handle being a hairstylist anymore. I knew I had to learn how to rebuild boundaries and learn to truly care for myself in the purest form to be able to interact with people. So these were things that I needed to do, heal, and work towards to be able to be where I'm at today. But some of these goals and visions is that I can be super productive in certain parts of my cycle and needing to rest in other parts. And as a hairstylist, you don't have that opportunity. Now, I have shared some things that I would totally implement in my life if I was still a hairdresser to have these things that are important to me. So ultimately what I'm getting at is I did not realize how much I wanted to live with my cycle vitality in my daily life because I didn't think it was possible as being a hairstylist. Looking back, it is. And so I'm just going to give you some little tidbits that if I was still working with people in the public that I would do. So hopefully that's helpful to you. So some of them would be not staying late. I would never stay late at the end of my luteal or my fall phase or my winter or my menstruation phase. So pretty much days 1 through 7 and days 24 through however long your cycle is. Those days, no, absolutely, I don't care who you are. I would not stay late, squeeze anybody in. I would, on the other hand, be aware of when I'm in my summer or my ovulation, and that can start anywhere around day 13 and can go up until about day 24. So if you want to make that extra money in that month, that would be the time. So those are just a couple little tidbits that I would do differently. But back to building this path of devotion, living in this world where I can plan when I'm really productive and when I'm not. And I'm literally building my business around that. And so I'm really proud of myself for learning about how my body operates, learning about my emotions, learning about when I'm productive, learning about when I'm emotionally vulnerable. And so all of these have made me a better mom, a better wife, a better friend, that I can support myself and support others when I know where I'm at in my mental capacity at that time. And so I do need to remind myself to rest, in that time period, around day 24 through and then to about day 7. Because when we are in a place of receptivity, receiving, that's when we can really work on our manifestations. We can really receive guidance from the universe. Because in this process of learning about myself, understanding how I operate with my cycle, my human design, I found it so powerful that when I'm honoring these things about myself, the universe will show me I'm on the right path. Does the universe remind me that I'm impatient? Yes. I still am learning how to be patient in this whole process. So that is something I have to remind myself. But I will just say my most recent cycle, I really allowed myself to rest. And the last few cycles that I've done that, the amount of intuitive downloads that I've gotten in these visions and these ideas and these big plans that I have are blowing me away. And I just think it's the universe saying, like, yes, we are co-creating this life you envision. So when you stop fighting it, when you stop hustling, when you stop trying to control, I will show you that life doesn't have to be that hard. And it's up to you to figure out how to do that for yourself, how to allow that receptivity to come in, how to stop hustling. That's up to you to do, because for myself, it was very difficult. Even not having my job, I had found it a really hard time to not just, oh, yeah, because I did that all the time as a hairstylist. And so I bet you I would have a really hard time if I was still doing hair. But now I'm a little bit more aware of my body. And I'm aware when it has a little symptom now. Whereas before I had really big symptoms. And the reason they were really big symptoms is because I ignored them. And so, I encourage you that when you have these little symptoms to really sit within and see what your intuition, your body's trying to communicate with you. And, sometimes it's hard. And again, sometimes it takes patience, but you will learn so much when you learn about yourself. And I truly believe if people worked from how were supposed to operate with their human design, a woman especially with their cycle, I really feel like the world would be a different place. And so that's why I get so passionate about talking about stuff like this, because I see so many people not. And they'll tell themselves, like, I can't live a life like that. Like, I see people roll their eyes at me and it's like, yeah, I thought that too. But if you want it, it's up to you to change that. And again, you don't have to leave your job to do it, but you can do these certain little micro shifts in your daily life to make that happen. I think the biggest time to support yourself to be able to rest, retract, and kind of pull back is right before your period, depending. For me, it's like 4 or 5 days before my period. And so I make sure we have extra food in the freezer that we've already prepped. I make sure that my husband, that the meals that he is fully capable in cooking are available for him to cook for us. We leave room in our budget to eat out. So I do these little things so that I don't feel like I need to step up and cook, because that is something that I do not want to do at that time. So it's just finding these little things that you can do in your life so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. Because if you're trying to cook dinner and you're trying to clean the house and you're trying to take the kids to school and you got all these meetings at work and you got these emails, well, you can't change some of that. I get that, but you can change some of that. So understanding that you have more power and control than you think you do in your life. And that's just me saying, like, I had this longing to live this way, and it's taken, again, aligned action, working towards these goals for me to live this way. So I wanted to mention the reason I'm doing this episode is because there was a lot of things I envisioned in my life that I wanted my life to be differently when I was a hairstylist. And the majority of those things I have right now. Like the things that I envisioned, I have cultivated in my life. And yeah, 3 years could be, 2.5 years could be a long time to someone. But, raising 2 kids while they're at home most of the time, they are in school now. It's hard. It's hard to cultivate this life that you want and balance your alone time, your family time, being a mom, being a wife, and really making, these aligned actions every day towards these goals. These things were such a big deal to me when I was working because I didn't think I could have them. And so I'm just sharing with the things that I do have now. And so one of them was wearing comfortable clothes. As a hairstylist, like, you can be cute and comfortable, but not to the extent I wanted. And honestly, I hated wearing makeup. And I've probably worn more makeup in the past 2 weeks than I have the last 3 years. I didn't realize the sensory issues that I had with a lot of this, how uncomfortable I would feel at the end of the workday with the hair on my clothes, and that a lot of the clothes that I had, I tried to fit in them. And now I'm in a season of I buy clothes that fit me, my body, that feel good to me. And that includes the texture, the material of them, because I love a good, comfortable pair of pants, shirt, whatever. So there was a point, it was actually my birthday last spring. I really wanted to simplify my closet, and that took me really taking a lot of things that I knew, even if I had the opportunity to go out and do something, even if I decided to go back to doing hair, there were clothes that I probably would not wear. And so, I sold a lot of my clothes, I donated a lot of my clothes, and I got rid of a lot. And to be honest, I do not miss anything that I've gotten rid of. But once I kind of hit that goal, I got rid of these, I made room in my closet, I really kind of purged a lot of this old version of myself. It was a version that I thought people expected of me. It wasn't even like an expectation of myself. And so I kept a lot of clothes because I felt like people expected me to look a certain way. And so once I made that room, and the money that I got from selling a lot of that stuff, I went shopping for my birthday, and I was buying clothes that I ultimately had a meditation of my higher alignment, this version of myself. And she was wearing cute athleisure wear. That's what she was wearing. And so I went shopping with a friend. And the fact that I touched every piece of clothing before even considering it, trying it on, because I wanted to make sure everything I bought felt comfortable. And it felt so good. And to bring that home, it was a way, I had this vision of myself and I wanted to have that in my life. And so knowing that I'm there now and that I can have these conversations, I can have these interviews, I can take my kids to school, I can still look semi put together, but I am super comfortable in the shoes and whatever it is that I'm wearing. And honestly, I recently went out with my husband for our anniversary, and it was the first time I wore heels in 2 years. It was kind of crazy. And I was surprised that I was able to do it, but they were my comfortable heels. And so it felt good. So as silly as it sounds, a couple things that were on my vision board, and I didn't even have a vision board for some of this stuff. These things that I envisioned that I wanted my life to be 3 years ago was to not have to wear makeup, wear comfortable clothes, be able to be productive when I'm productive, and rest when I need to rest. And I've done it. I'm here, and it feels really good. And that is a lot of the purpose of this conversation, is the whole point of these visions and goals that you want in your life is that it's supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to look good on paper. It's not supposed to make someone else feel good. It has nothing to do with other people looking at you and thinking she's made it. It has nothing to do with them. It's about what makes you feel good and working towards that. So I wanted to share a couple of those little aspects. But I want to give you the idea of what I've really been doing since I've been building my dreams. That's ultimately it. I have these visions. I have these things deep in my heart. I really feel like they're going to come true. And I want to share with you the process of building them. And so I've always been a dreamer. It's in my soul. But I took a course called The Magic of Money Making during the pandemic. And it was a hairstylist course. And I did not realize at the end of it, it was my confirmation that I was done being a hairdresser. I did not have that passion in it. It did not fill my soul. Do I miss the conversations with my clients and my coworkers? 100%. But this was something deep in my soul. I knew it was time to move on. But in this course, you had to make a vision board. And I didn't even realize until I was done with this course, I looked at this vision board and there was not one thing that had to do with hair on it. And this whole course was about making more money as a hairstylist. And I had these dreams of retreats, and it's just always been something in my soul. And so it started off as a magnetic board. I would print off pictures, and it was a way that I could just put a new picture on, take one off. And so I was always building on it. I was always kind of changing it. Not always, but I would say every few months I would print off a new set of pictures and add it to it and take off the ones that didn't resonate with me anymore. And so that's my encouragement is you don't make a vision board and stand back and look at it. It is always an ever evolving piece of art. And so put it somewhere where you can see it. I have mine actually in my office. It's actually behind my door because I do feel like it's a personal piece of my soul. And so while I want to see it, I don't want it to be on display for everybody else to see it. And so it's nice that like when I have my door open, you don't see it. And when I want to look at it, my door's shut. But my vision board has evolved. I've actually turned my vision board into a digital vision board. So I made a presentation on Canva. And, there's so many aspects to it. The one that I've made it's a lot. It's a lot for most people. And so my goal is to actually have a workshop around this concept and help people build theirs. Simplify the one I have because mine is a mix of me, what I want for my family, what I want for my business, like who my ideal customer is, what their pain points are, what their aspirations are, like knowing them deeply and truly in a way that like I can speak to them. And, certain things that I've learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza about building these places to put your visions. And I have my rituals to step into this higher alignment of myself. What songs do I play to be in this version of myself? What prayers do I say? What routines do I have? Everything about me to make me this higher alignment version of myself is on this vision board. And I love that I can look at it. I love that when I have it on my phone, it just fits perfectly. I love that I have all the things that I want linked to it, the songs, the playlists, the meditations, so that when I'm traveling and I really want to have access to this, it's all right there. It's easy. Another reason I'm sharing this is because I've had some really big dreams and visions. And recently I am working on something and I can't give you too many details about it. I hope one day I can. But the craziest part is some of the things on my vision board, I didn't think it could happen. I didn't know how it could happen. And so one of the recent things that I've been embracing in this whole idea is letting go of the need to know how it's going to happen, because that's not up to me. That's up to the universe. And no joke, when I let go of this need for the how, I've had some people come into my life that are giving me an opportunity to propose these big dreams and visions. In my soul, I hope this really happens. But the craziest part about it is so much of my vision board that I didn't know how is translating into this proposal. I'm taking my vision board and I'm turning it into a proposal to something that could possibly change my life and other people's lives. And normally I would not speak this thing out into the public. I don't know if it's superstition or just being vulnerable, but I was recently listening to a podcast of like speaking it to the universe and really putting it out there. And I hope this inspires you to start that vision board in a way that you'll look at it and not just throw it in your closet, that you'll actively look at it and, have it evolve with you. Because that's the whole point of a vision board, is like not putting it up there and being so stuck in your visions. It's evolving with you. And I think that's where I fell short a few times in the last few years, was I was so set in my goals. I was hustling towards those goals. I forgot to receive. I forgot to sit back and rest, reflect, see what I was working on, if it was still in alignment with what I wanted. Because that is the most important part in building these dreams and goals. Just because you have dreams and goals today doesn't mean they're not going to change tomorrow. And that is also something that I've learned in this process is I've always had this like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm sticking with. Now that I'm kind of like, ooh, this is a tool I'm putting in my tool belt. Oh, wow, this is another tool. This is a great resource. This is an amazing person. Just knowing that all these little things that I put on my vision board and they've come to fruition, they've come to me. They're just all these little pieces of the puzzle of my path of devotion. And that is what I call my vision board. That is what I call my aligned action that I take every day. And knowing that sitting and resting is aligned action. And being in flow-ductivity is meaning that you are flowing with how the universe created you. You're not fighting against it. You're not trying to control it. And that's when life gets easier. It's when you can surrender into it, when you can really allow the universe to do its magic. So thanks for being here for this episode. I wanted to share ultimately how I vision board and what it's kind of evolved. And I just wanted to celebrate that I get to wear comfortable clothes, and the majority of the time I don't wear makeup, and it feels really good. It feels definitely something that in my own little way that I'm going to celebrate. And so in this, I ask you to think about something big or small that you can celebrate and, treat yourself today. Do something. So thanks for being here, and we will chat soon. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Some of the references that I have in this episode are talking about my higher self and the clothing that I bought and this brand I've fallen in love with. It's called Viore. I really am not an affiliate or a sponsor, but I do have a friend link that I will have in the show notes. Also, Athletic Greens has become a staple in my morning routine. I also mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I am referencing his book called Becoming Supernatural. I will also link for the Magic of Money Making course by Jamie C. And of course, I will have the link for my Canva template at karadempsey.com/path. I thought about taking the concept of using the Canva template and having a workshop on that. So if that's something that you'd enjoy, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at hello@karadempsey.com or DM me on Instagram. You can find all these links mentioned at karadempsey.com/35. I appreciate you being here, and if you could share my podcast with a friend, if you haven't yet, I'd be grateful for the support, and we will chat soon.